Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for dropping into another video with me, and I'm glad you're here, and I am excited to share with you a little bit about what we would call a successful green market day. Now, I'm going to tell you that there was a lot of news today, a lot of things to try to keep up with, a lot of things going on in the market that were being affected by the news. Not only the White House, but obviously some discussions and things going on relating to ICE and the borders. And it just seems like every single day they come up with more news and more things to talk about that potentially cause the market to be so volatile, to fluctuate in such a way that, like, literally you could get into a trade and things are running super sweet, and then next thing you know, the S&P 500 and the trade you're in is heading south. And it's like, how is it even possible that all it takes is for one person, the president, okay, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, the Secretary of State, it's like CNN, Fox News, it doesn't matter who it is, but there's always this potential vibe that the news is going to drive the market. And this is actually something that I talk about a lot in my videos, guys, is that you can be awesome at doing analysis, at looking at the trend patterns of different stocks, different companies. You could understand all the technicals, know the candlestick patterns, understand the support and resistance levels. Literally, you could be so dialed in that all it takes is one comment and emotion drives the market in completely the opposite direction. Today, some of the news that we saw in the market were, I felt like some really positive news. Okay. President Trump actually signed an executive order that made it so that fentanyl is now a class 1 drug that actually imposes some stricter penalties on, the way the drug is handled. Any type of illegal action with it is a much stricter penalty. I mean, that's actually a really good thing, right? But obviously, healthcare and some of that medical healthcare sector is affected by that, and some of the stocks in the healthcare sector run the opposite direction. And it's like, this is actually a kind of a good thing, but because of the emotion of it and people freaking out about it, they think that it's going to cause all kinds of chaos and disruption, and it causes the stock market to run the wrong way. I just sort of don't always get that. But anyway, other things in the news today. There's still a lot of talks about Russia and Ukraine. There's talks about, the whole thing with NATO. The Republicans last night met in the office, in the Oval Office, with President Trump to talk about the AI energy bill that we believe is going to be passed. I understand it was approved, but now I think it still has to go through the Senate, right? So Congress approved it. Now it's got to go to the Senate for final review. But that's going to be huge because it takes a lot of restrictions off of, cryptocurrency and the AI world, and it's things that involve energy, which takes a ton of energy, and the production of energy for AI. So there's just so many things going on there in that part of the news. And then obviously, you have the continued news about, President Biden, and these inquiries into his health condition at the end of the presidency. I'm going to be honest with you guys, like, who cares at this point? I mean, what is the point and the benefit to kind of go back in time and have to regurgitate all this to, to try to figure out, was Biden actually running the office? Was he involved in the day-to-day decisions? We already kind of know that he wasn't really involved in all that. The auto pen that was being used by interns and aides and all that. I mean, but it's just kind of like enough already. I mean, leave him alone. leave all that alone. President Trump's now in office. There's a lot of crazy things happening and a lot of good things that are happening. Me personally, I agree with what's happening at the border. The fact that we have had 0 people illegally cross the border, I think is a great thing, for the United States. But, I know a lot of people have different opinions and how ICE is handling all that. And, people have varying opinions. But anyway, news sentiment and everything going on in the news absolutely drives the market, because the market is 100% driven right now purely on emotion. And it's frustrating, because there's so many good things that could be happening in the market when you understand the technicals and you do your data and your research, your analysis, your due diligence on different companies and stocks. It shouldn't affect it that way, but it does. So let's talk a little bit about the market and what the market did today, and how you could have made money today. Listen, I made money today. I made money as I do. I trade APLD every day. The Discord group, we were talking about that a little bit today, and I was sharing with them some of the numbers and some of the profits that I was taking, yesterday. I actually made about, over $450, or about $450 in my day trading for APLD yesterday. I want to say I probably made about $150 in APLD today. I also traded Wolf, WULF, and I made over $100 in that. Listen, I'm not, I don't have one of these big boy stock accounts like some of the other YouTubers that show you their millions of dollars. And oh, look, I bought, $100,000 in this stock today, and I made $35,000 on that. That's freaking awesome for those guys, but that's not me. That's not my account. I'm happy. My goal, so anyone that's new to the channel, my goal is to make at least $100 per day per trade. Meaning, if I get into APLD, Applied Digital, at the point that I believe it's hit the bottom for the day and it's going to run up, my goal is to make at least $100, in that trade. If it goes to 150, 200, 500, 1,000, awesome, gravy. But my goal is to make at least $100 per trade. And, fortunately, I've been able to do that. And you can do that too. Not financial advice, but you can do that in a red day or a green day. You just have to understand what companies that you're trading in and out of. And I'm going to throw it up on the screen here, and you can pause right here if you want. But this is my current list of the best day trade stocks. These are the ones that I'm in and out of every day. I've done a 30-day analysis on these. I run and look at the moving averages. I look at it over, a 3-month, 6-month, the 1 year. I'm looking at the daily. I'm understanding how it trends. And then I'm looking at it each day specifically to see what is the trend. Does it, like APLD, for example, just about every single day, APLD will have either a quick glitch up and then it runs down. And when it runs down, you literally just have to sit and wait and understand the candles and understand that when it gets to the point where it goes from a 5 or a 15 or a 30-minute green candle from red to green, and then like, hey, this is my opportunity for the reversal, and you're going to buy in. Do I sometimes buy into a stock and it runs down lower? Yeah, of course. That happens, right? Sometimes you could be faked out, and there's no perfect strategy for trading ever. Okay, but I do the best I can to understand what's happening based on my experience and get in, and then I let it run and I watch it till I get to a point where I feel like, hey, there's the potential this is going to turn and go the opposite direction. I'm not going to be greedy. I'm going to take profit on it, and I'm happy. And listen, then there's other stocks that I get in that I might have only made $20 or $30 on it, and I took profit because I didn't feel comfortable with where the candles were going. Could I have allowed it to go red and drop and then see if it turned and went back up in the day? Yeah, I could have. But listen, it's the same idea as setting a stop loss at about 10%. 7 to 10% is my normal. I like to set a stop loss. So if I do get into a trade and it drops low, then I'm not going to lose too much. And then I can get back into it when the candles show me that it's time to get back in. But if I'm in a trade and it's going up and I see potentially it's going to go in the wrong direction, then I'm going to take profit and get out, not be greedy, and, see profit, take profit. And that's how it works. And then maybe combined, if you make $20, $30 in this stock, you make $20, $30 in this stock, you make $100 in this stock, listen, you can earn, in profit a few $100. And why not do that every day? Wash, rinse, repeat, guys. Okay. I totally ended up back on a soapbox. So I took some notes before I left my office because I knew I was going to do a rolling video today. Let me tell you what ran today and some opportunities. And you can go to the charts, take a look at it. I'm usually in the 5-minute and the 15-minute. I'm going to throw them up on the screen as I go through them for you so that you understand what I'm talking about. But most all stocks on this best day trade list did really well today. You could have pretty much picked almost any one of them, and they did really well today. Let me just kind of walk through that with you. So first and foremost, Serve Robotics. I love Serve Robotics, SERV. Awesome company, solid company, not going anywhere. Has a really good trend. You could have gotten in today at a turn at a low of $10.66 and ran this one all the way up to, this was a really good day for Serve Robotics, all the way up to $12.04 was their high. You know, could you start at the low and get to the high? Probably not. You'd start a little bit higher than what the bottom was and end and get out a little bit, you know, below the top end. But, you know, they closed at $11.85, still sitting horizontal through the post market. Really nice result. GTX, if you hadn't heard me talk about this one before, I do really like this company. I at one point considered taking it off my list, but I left it on my list. GTX had a drop to $10.99, and it rode all the way up to $11.81, and it closed out at $11.80. Really nice result. Ford had a bit of a rundown today, and then I did trade Ford. I decided to get into it, you know, at a point where it was midday, and I jumped in at around $11.19. I rode it all the way up to $11.31. And hey, like I said, not a huge gain. But I made money in it, and I'm glad I did. Some days Ford runs all day long. I saw it had the turn and said, I'll take advantage of it halfway through the day. Let's talk about APLD for a minute, guys. APLD, you had really two great opportunities to make money. I made money in the first opportunity. There was a low at $9.75. That's when I saw the turn. I got in, and I rode it all the way up to about $10.25. Very, very nice opportunity to do that. And then it ran second time today, and it ran from about $9.90 all the way up to $10.11. So APLD, listen, is a favorite of mine. I will trade APLD every single day unless I see it totally going to, you know, to the trash in running, but nothing but red. But, you know, there's not many days that APLD has that. CX, which is Cemex Sab, is a cement company. It ran pretty nice today. Again, not as volatile as some of the other stocks, but you could have gotten in at $7.26 and ran it all the way up to $7.38. Good opportunity to make a little bit of money without the stress and the pressure of volatility. IAG, which is IM Gold, had really 2 or 3 opportunities to make some money. They had a low of $6.97 to a high of $7.20, but a pretty good opportunity. BBAI had also a monster opening candle. Okay, it opened up at $6.97, ran all the way to $7.20, and then it had a hard drop down. And after that drop down in the turn, it basically dropped down to $6.88. You could have gotten back in about that point and ran it all the way back up to $7.21. Great opportunity to make some money in BBAI. SLDB also had a nice result today. Also not as volatile as some of the other stocks. Could have gotten in it at $5.44 and ran it to $5.73. And then right at close, I don't know exactly what happened. There was some sort of news catalyst behind it, but right at close, SLDB was at $5.58 and launched all the way up to $5.75. And you would have had to been Johnny on the draw to get in and out of that one because it was quick. I mean, it was within a few minutes that it ran that way. And then I already shared WULF for me was a moneymaker. You could have gotten in it at about $4.94 in the pre-market and ran it up to $5.37. And it was just really a very good opportunity to make some money. Grab, which you guys know is this Korean Uber style company that does deliveries, and food delivery and like Uber, picking up and dropping off people. They had a pretty decent run today. Also, $4.69 ran all the way up to $5.15. So for those day trade stocks, more of the affordable ones, guys, Great opportunities today. You got to kind of pick and choose where you're at. Like I said, know your resistance levels, know your support levels, look at the candlesticks to understand when to get in. Anyway, guys, have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button for me, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. And I cannot wait to share with you what's happening in the market tomorrow. Have a good night. Josh out. Peace.